Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the I Can Do Anything podcast. My name is Colin, and today I will be talking about the obvious. I'm talking about Game 5 of the NBA Finals, a historic night in NBA history, a landscape-shifting night for the future of the NBA. Just so many different storylines to talk about, but before, I'd like to tell you about our sponsor, Sneaker Retort, because I can do anything. We all buy sneakers, some of us more than others, but regardless of how much the shoes you purchase cost or how often you purchase them, it's nice to know ahead of time if you're getting what you paid for. Sneaker Retort is the leading discussion board in the world for reviewing sneakers and is used by sneakerheads from Bangladesh to Machu Picchu. Learn about your favorite brands and connect with retail sellers. After your purchase, give a rating and review of the seller and the product so that those interested in that seller or a particular shoe or the brand can make an educated decision before they spend their hard-earned money. Whether you're a collector, a manual labor worker, a runner, or a fashionista, Sneaker Retort is your home for witty, sharp, angry, delighted, and incisive remarks, accusations, and satisfactory banter. Our members are passionate about footwear. If you have a passion for what protects your souls, sign up for a free membership to receive early release notifications and our daily newsletter featuring the latest in trends and discounts from around the world of kicks. The I Can Do Anything podcast is also brought to you by Sportage. Listeners of the I Can Do Anything podcast obviously love sports, and the best way to keep up with the latest in all your favorite sports, leagues, teams, and players is Sportage. Sportage lets you customize alerts for all your favorites. It features articles from award-winning sports journalists and has an easy-to-use interactive layout. Download the Sportage app today. Okay. So the obvious happened. Well, not the obvious happened, but I'm here to talk about the obvious. In case you didn't know, Kevin Durant got hurt. Just a little disclaimer here. I haven't listened to anything. I haven't listened on purpose. I've been doing it throughout the existence of this podcast, which has been this entire basketball season. I strayed away from it just a little bit from time to time. I listen to the Flagrant 2 podcast every week, and they hardly talk about sports, and the stuff that they do talk about, it's just not really. They do talk about tactical stuff, I guess, a little bit. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I haven't, since the NBA Finals Game 5 from last night, I haven't listened to anything. I don't know what people are talking about, but this is my guess. My guess is they're talking about Kevin Durant's injury. I mean, I don't even really know where to start. Let me just start by talking about the game as a whole. And that'll ease into the Kevin Durant injury. So Kevin Durant started hot. I don't know about hot, but he started playing great. He finished the game. Obviously, only played like a quarter, sort of. I mean, he played 11 minutes, so he played a little under a quarter in total, but finished with 11 points in 11 minutes. Was 3 of 5 from the field, shot 60%, 3 of 3 from 3, 100%, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. And the Warriors were up at halftime by like 6 or 7. Kawhi had a pretty awesome little, I think 10 or 11 point, 10 or 11 straight points there as the fourth quarter winded down, and then the Warriors fucking answered, man. The Warriors answered with, I think, 10 straight of their own to tie the game and then eventually take the lead. Finished off by a Steph Curry 3 and then a Klay Thompson 3. And those guys both played really well and responded just huge to the Kevin Durant injury. I mean, the Warriors won this game essentially without Kevin Durant. They got 11 points from him, and they certainly got off to a good start, in large part due to him playing well and shooting the ball well to start this game off. But as you know, he missed the entire second half and only played, like I said, essentially a little bit less than a quarter of the game. And Steph finished with 31. Klay Thompson finished with 26. They both shot about 43% from the field. Steph was 5 of 14, 35% from 3. Klay was 7 of 13, 53% from 3. Klay only went to the free throw line once, shot 1 of 2. Steph went 3 times, or maybe I think he took one. Yeah, he got fouled on 1-3. So one of those trips to the free throw line, he only shot one, but was 6 of 6 from three. Steph had 8 rebounds, Clay 6, Steph 7 assists, Clay 4. Draymond had a pretty solid game by Draymond standards. 10 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Pretty damn good overall night for Draymond. Just about what you would expect from Draymond. But the Warriors won this game essentially without Kevin Durant. And that's something that I think probably a lot of people didn't think that they would go in and do in Toronto in a closeout game. And they've brought this series back to now 3-2. The final score was 106-105. On the other side of the ball, Kawhi Leonard had 26, shot 9 of 24 from the field, 37%. It's not that great. 2 of 7 from 3, although I think I want to say both of those threes were in the fourth quarter, right down the stretch. Shot 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 75%. That's actually kind of bad compared to what he's been shooting in the finals. He's been like going 100% from the free throw line, and it's not like he's been shooting like 2 or 3. I want to say he was like 14 of 14 from the free throw line in one of these games in the finals. Grabbed 12 rebounds, had 6 assists, 5 turnovers, 2 steals, 2 blocks. I should mention that Draymond had the block to save the series for the Warriors. That corner 3 for Kyle Lowry that would have won the game if it went in. Pascal Siakam, 12 points. Marc Gasol, 17. Danny Green, 4. Kyle Lowry, 18. Shot 50% from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 turnovers. Serge Ibaka, 15 off the bench. Van Vliet, 11 off the bench. The Warriors, I don't know. It's hard for me to. I guess the pick that I made was Warriors in 6, and we're about to go to a game 6, and it's going to be an Oracle. And the Warriors now with Kevin Durant's injury, they've got a lot to play for, man. I mean, say what you want about Kevin Durant's allegiance to the Warriors. Say what you want about the division that's been created by the media between Kevin Durant and the rest of the Warriors teammates. There's just so much out there about whether or not he was healthy, whether or not he should have been back in the game, whether or not the Warriors were putting pressure on him to return, from the very beginning, right when this injury happened. They've talked about, he'll play in a week, or he'll play in 2 weeks, or they'll be reevaluated in a week. There's just been so much narrative, so much different stuff that I've read about this injury. And I mean, even before the game, it's weird. I'm saying this having known, obviously, that the injury happened, but I almost felt like when I read that Durant was going to play last night, I almost felt this like weird feeling like he was gonna, like something monumental was gonna happen to shake up free agency, and that he was gonna get hurt. I had this weird feeling like, there's been so much talk about his worst nightmare, according to Chris Broussard, would be the Warriors winning a championship without him. And then they go down 3-1 without him, and there's a lot of pressure for him to come back. And, I don't know. Looking at it from a player's perspective, if I'm Kevin Durant, shit, man, I probably wouldn't have played. I don't know what he felt like physically. I don't know what his calf felt like physically going into the game. But it'd be really hard to... let's just go off the idea that he's not 100%, because he clearly wasn't 100% going into this game. In a contract year where you could potentially make $35 million a year, maybe $40 million a year over 4 to 5 years. I don't know the stipulations of the Supermax, but you could make an ungodly amount of money. Now, I get that like you sign a Supermax. Well, you sign a Supermax to set your future family, your kids up for a really easy life. And you could make arguments that maybe that's not the smartest thing, and that a lot of these guys who become successful in life and have a great fulfilled just a fulfilling life come from nothing, and that setting your son's son, or your daughter's son up to be, generational wealth. It's not always the best for an individual. It obviously is nice. You're afforded privileges, and your college can be paid for, and it can certainly lead to great things. But Kevin Durant's got the opportunity to make generational wealth, and right in front of him, he's got the opportunity to win another championship and to come back and lead a team from down 3-1, to come back from an injury to lead a team down 3-1, to win a championship, to validate that, oh, maybe I am important to this whole Warriors winning a championship narrative. That's got to drive him to come back. But that generational wealth, that's got to drive him to come back too. And it's really hard for me sitting here in my guest bedroom talking into a microphone completely by myself. It's really difficult for me to say whether or not he should do one or the other. So I'm really not, I don't think anybody's in a place to criticize Kevin Durant, the ownership, for anybody, the training staff. All of these decisions in hindsight are so easy to nitpick. They're so easy to point the finger at somebody. And that's what Bob Myers was saying. He said, I get that that's how it kind of goes. You got to point the finger at somebody. But do you? I understand why I said it, because the media is somebody's gonna get the blame. Charles Barkley did it. I lied. I listened to something. I forgot about that. I listened to what Charles Barkley said when he called in to Get Up. That was the one notification that I clicked on while I was sitting on the toilet. And I just kind of assume that that's probably the narrative. Somebody's getting the blame. And it's hard for me sitting here, I don't really know what else to say about it. Another notification that I read, it was an article about teams that are still willing to offer Kevin Durant the Supermax in free agency. I'm here to tell you, don't fucking pay attention to that. Those teams that are still willing to offer him are the fucking Phoenix Suns, the Orlando Magic, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Chicago Bulls. Well, probably the Chicago Bulls, but I'm talking about these irrelevant, historically horribly ran franchises. The Magic, the Suns, the Knicks. Teams that don't have anything else. Of course you'll still offer him the Supermax. Of course you'll still offer him any kind of contract. You don't got anything else. Why wouldn't you? But any team that's in contention, any team that could go in a different direction with their Supermax money, they're probably not going to Kevin Durant. I hate to say it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I know it's probably not just me. I envision the recent, I think it was a Nike ad, the recent Nike ad, where Tiger Woods was sitting there watching or listening to all these different sports commentators talking about how he should just retire, blah, blah, blah. He's never going to be the same. He'll never win again. And then after he just looks up at the camera and smiles. And I hope for Kevin Durant's sake that he's able to have that moment where he comes back and maybe wins another one, or even if he just comes back and he's still like really fucking good and is an all-star. And, I just hope that Kevin Durant's able to return from this, but history points to the opposite. History says that more than likely he's not going to. I mean, a guy on his own team, DeMarcus Cousins, had the same injury. He's back and he looks, it's early. It's really early in his recovery process. He still kind of looks like a shell of himself. But it's certainly, he could certainly still have a fulfilling career. I don't know. It all depends on free agency and what happens with Boogie Cousins in this free agency. It still really depends on what happens the rest of these NBA finals. If DeMarcus Cousins plays great, I said this before the series even started. I said if DeMarcus Cousins plays great and doesn't completely fracture this team's ability to win, and he hasn't so far, I don't think DeMarcus Cousins has been the reason that they've lost. I think the reason that they're down, they're in the hole that they're in, is because they haven't had Kevin Durant. And DeMarcus Cousins, he's not been bad. I mean, he had that great game in the one game that they won before this most recent game yesterday. But DeMarcus Cousins could potentially make some pretty good money. He could, and this whole Kevin Durant injury really, really makes the Warriors situation interesting. I mean, first, you have Klay Thompson not make the All-NBA team, so he's no longer eligible for a Supermax. That makes it much easier for the Warriors to keep him. Now, they don't have to offer him a Supermax. I think maybe the Warriors still do offer him some. I don't know. I think the way that the Supermax is set up, I think it makes him like completely ineligible to even receive that kind of money. But I think the Warriors still offer him a lot of money just out of respect and appreciation for what he's brought to this franchise. But they certainly don't have to. They're certainly, as the way I understand it, they're not even he's not even eligible to make Supermax money. So that saves the Warriors a ton of money. Now this Kevin Durant thing, this injury where he's not going to be able to play more than likely the entire season next season, that saves them. I mean, they could still, like, let's say that the Warriors sign Kevin Durant in hopes of him returning in the following season and still being great. They're not going to have to pay him the same amount of money. He still may receive a Supermax, but it's going to be the lowest possible Supermax. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be an incredibly interesting offseason for the Warriors. They don't have to offer Klay a Supermax. I don't know how the Supermax thing works with an injury like this. Does he have to receive a Supermax? I don't think that he has to receive a Supermax. A team could offer him less, and he could accept less if that's what the circumstances called for. But I don't know. This obviously dullens, is that a word? Dullens? It dulls it just makes his impact on free agency obviously much. I mean, I was going to say it makes his impact on free agency much less, but now just with him not being in free agency anymore after, so much talk surrounding him as far as free agency goes, it's just a very, very interesting wrinkle in the free agency talks. The Warriors are certainly going to have a really, really interesting offseason in free agency. And I haven't even mentioned Draymond Green. I mean, they've got, before this Kevin Durant injury, they had a really, really tough task, and now it just it maybe makes it easier for them, but it's certainly just an added wrinkle, and they still could, it still makes it difficult to, do you want to give Kevin Durant, if you're the Warriors, big money, knowing that he may not return and be everything that Kevin Durant has been for them? I mean, I don't know. It's just a really, really interesting, weird little wrinkle thrown into the NBA offseason free agency market as a whole. So where do we go from here? I mean, Game 6 now is, I believe, on Thursday, and it's back in Oracle Arena. Like I said before, the Warriors got a lot to play for, man. I tell you what, they got a lot to fucking play for. It's the NBA Finals. It's not like they're going to come out and be a dud, even if Kevin Durant never played yesterday. Even if they just won that game and Kevin Durant never got hurt, there'd certainly be talks about, he didn't play in Game 5. Is he going to come back for Game 6? Find out next. But yeah, Game 6, Thursday, 9 o'clock on ABC, back in Oracle Arena in Oakland, California. I don't think I got anything else. Like I said before, tough to fill up 30 to even 40 minutes. I'm at about the 20-minute mark right now. Tough to talk by yourself about one basketball game, even with all the narratives. I mean, I have literally exhausted this Kevin Durant discussion, and I'm sure that's what they're doing on traditional media and all the fucking sports podcasts out there. This Kevin Durant injury has more than likely completely dominated NBA sports talk, radio, and TV, and all that stuff. You know what? So I should be different. I should be different here on the I Can Do Anything podcast. But I'm not gonna be. I don't know what the fuck else to talk about. It wouldn't even make sense for me to talk about something else. This is like I said at the very opening of this podcast, this is a historic night in the NBA. This is one of the greatest teams ever assembled. I'm not going to go all crazy and say that it is the greatest team ever assembled, although I pretty much believe that. But without a doubt, one of the greatest teams ever assembled, one of the greatest players the NBA has ever seen, certainly one of the greatest scorers that the NBA has ever seen. There's been a lot of talk, you've heard it, I'm sure, about Kevin Durant in free agency, and now this adds a wild fucking wrinkle into it. This is a historic night in NBA history. So how do you not talk about it? What were some other storylines that happened in this game? Oh, I thought it was fucking hysterical the way that Steph Curry was under the basket. I think he was under the basket when Kyle Lowry took that three in the corner that Draymond blocked, and then it was like a very weird moment when it was almost like the Raptors fans didn't know that they were down. It was almost like they thought the game was tied. Like when you shoot a buzzer beater like that and the game is tied, you don't have that like cathartic, like, whoa, fuck, we thought it was going to go in. Or that cathartic, like, shit, we lost. It's almost like the Raptors fans thought the game was tied. The way that shot missed, and it was just very anticlimactic. It was like it was almost like they didn't realize it until like a little bit after. But I thought it was really funny how Curry went from under the basket and kind of like rounded past the Warriors bench where Lowry took that shot right in front of the Warriors bench. Rounded past it, went down the sidelines, and then just stopped and was literally jumping up and down right in front of Drake. Drake wasn't in his seat. He was up on the sidelines, like kind of over by there's like a little bit of a scores table right by where he sits. And he wasn't in his seat. Steph Curry literally went right to in front of, like if Drake was sitting in his seat, Steph Curry's ass would have been rubbing up against his face while he was jumping up and down. But Drake wasn't in the seat, and Curry went directly to his seat and was jumping up and down, cheering with Draymond, and then Draymond walks over and exchanged words with Drake. I thought it was hysterical. Steph Curry gets a lot of shit for he started out being the golden boy of the NBA and this, nice, clean-looking, young, scrawny Christian guy that, had a wife and kids and the Riley Curry thing, after press conferences and those first trips to the finals that they had. And then he turned into this guy that receives a lot of shit for all the taunting that he does. And this was peak Steph Curry taunting. I mean, there's been some good ones. People talk about the shimmying after threes or the turning and running up the floor before the shot even goes in. This was good. I mean, I was laughing hard. He fucking just went directly to Drake, didn't acknowledge him, and was jumping up and down. He wasn't facing him, but just directly in his face. I thought that was really funny. As far as basketball storylines go, though, however, Kawhi was impressive in that stretch. Kawhi was impressive on defense in the fourth quarter. I look for a big game out of Kawhi. I don't know what happens in Game 6. I think the Warriors win. And then we have a fucking exciting Game 7 in Toronto. But I've been wrong pretty much throughout this series. So, don't fucking listen to me. The I Can Do Anything podcast, ladies and gentlemen, along with being brought to you by Sneaker Retort and Sportage, is brought to you by Maximum Collision Course. Do you and your friends have the propensity to break shit and be reckless? I know myself personally, I'm not much of the destructive type. I do, however, have a number of friends who have the tendency to be a little destructive, especially when they've been drinking. If you like to enjoy causing a ruckus, then Maximum Collision Course is a really cool place that I think you'll enjoy. Maximum Collision Course is an all-in-one, noxious enclosure that features all kinds of opportunities to let out your frustrations. Activities include a race course with a selection of go-karts with special ruinous attachments on a track that includes a number of obstacles that will leave you and the competition in disarray. It also has arcade games designed with cutthroat intentions in mind. A large adult-sized ball pit fashioned into an obstacle course allows teams to participate in an intensing, bone-crushing game of capture the flag and much more. Come visit Maximum Collision Course's 150 locations across the continental United States. Each location is built on 200 acres of land with activities for outside and in that will give parents an escape from their children an outlet for their frustrations, or a great place to spend a day boozing for a special event or gathering like family reunions or bachelor parties. Thank you, folks, for listening to the I Can Do Anything podcast. That about closes it out for today. I appreciate the listenership. I appreciate I don't know what else I appreciate. Have a great fucking night. Peace. Enjoy Game 6. I'll be back probably after Game 6. Either Saturday or maybe I'll just wait till Sunday with Dob. Dob will be visiting Sunday, and you'll get another episode more than likely on Monday. Peace.